Okay, so today we're covering multi-tier initiatives. Develop multi-tier initiatives for diverse suppliers, including training of prime suppliers or tier one suppliers. As supply chains become more interdependent, development programs at all levels can reduce overall risk and improve results. Commitment to diverse suppliers, small and diverse suppliers are very often more innovative, more flexible, and more efficient than their larger brethren. Get the best suppliers to compete for business so it's worth a little extra effort to help them develop. Diverse suppliers tend to have fewer employees, hold smaller debt loads, and operate in environments which are less formal and less bureaucratic than those found at most well-established companies. It is often attributed to the owners and employees being related and to approvals, purchases, and contracts, not necessarily being governed by formal procedures. The large company versus a diverse supplier. At small companies, staffs are generalists, mostly due to their smaller size, so they may not be an expert at completing bids. They have a lot of hats. Access to capital and cash flow. Banks are less willing to loan to small companies due to the higher risk associated with lower net worth and collateral, as well as fewer years in business. And redlining, that is denying credit, has been a common practice for many years at banks. Diverse company corporate offices tend to be in neighborhoods perceived to be economically disadvantaged as well as unsafe, which is where you get the redlining from. And lack of capital and liquidity limits their ability to participate in large bids. Diverse companies cannot access enough capital to make advanced purchases of component materials. And diverse companies have limited cash flow to continue operating and paying their employees while fulfilling large orders. It's hard for them to get working capital. Must address the limitations. Supplier development programs must address the disadvantages related to smaller size, staff not organized along strict functional lines, general inexperience in dealing with formalized procedures, and complicated technological tools or platforms of larger companies. Minority supplier development programs may offer training in all relevant company procedures and processes, such as how RFPs are built and run, the factors critical to bidding successfully, company culture, supplier platform, billing and PO practice and policies. E-line or online tools and platforms. Most knowledge could be offered online or found on suppliers' portals. Company may want to graduate a diverse supplier from a required universal in-person program to online tools and platforms. And an internal personal relationship and single contact will be more successful for a diverse supplier who tends to operate in a less formal environment. Single point of contact. Until a diverse supplier graduates from the development program and is transitioned to online platforms and tools, a single personal point of contact, a diverse supplier program coordinator or somebody like that, would be an effective mode of communication. Just have the one person the diverse supplier has to look up and talk to. Opportunities or other forms of capital. Looking for opportunities for joint partnerships or loans, sponsorships could be effective ways to increase diverse suppliers' capabilities. Cash flow and capital disadvantages may also indirectly affect quality and the effectiveness of quality control. Offering technical assistance and quality control training may help keep defect rates low. And supplier development programs bridge to self-sufficiency, so minimizing inefficiencies in the supply chain, improving competition, and increasing profit and market share for the established company remain the ultimate goals of these programs. Supplier development programs are bridges through which these corporate objectives can be achieved. Sub-tier identification. So the opportunity to improve the supply chain. So multiple supplier tiers require tier one suppliers to actively promote and support the establishment of supplier development programs at all tiers of the supply chain. But especially you want tier ones to have an active program for their tier ones or your tier two suppliers, and then require those suppliers to have programs and so on. Opportunities to improve supply chains can be found through the establishment of supplier development programs that encourage first and second tier suppliers to use minority businesses and organize first tier suppliers to make them aware of the company's supplier diversity policy and evaluate second tier subcontracting opportunities. I would organize the first tier suppliers and require them to do the diversity training or diversity program and have them brief you on it quarterly or whatever, and then have them evaluate the second tier subcontracting opportunities and give you a synopsis of where they're at. Companies can also encourage tier one diverse suppliers to identify new lower tier diverse suppliers with whom they can partner and produce the required services. Reporting categories and requirements. The most common KPI for diverse supplier programs is percentage of spend with diverse suppliers, or the other one is the number of diverse suppliers. Tier two spend can be captured by requiring reporting by tier one suppliers, the percentage of spend of tier two suppliers, and so on. So at each level, you just require them to report the number of diverse suppliers and how much spend is going there. A tier two suppliers would report percentage for suppliers of tier three spend, etc. A baseline of initial percentage of spend with diverse suppliers is captured at a point in time and measured annually. You could go quarterly, but that's probably too often. An additional required reporting metric could include the dollar value of individual contracts over time. Are they getting a bunch of small contracts? Are they getting big contracts or what? Baseline total annual contract value would then be measured over time. Other metrics to capture a baseline and measure annual changes could be number of minority employees, their titles and salaries versus non-minority. Sounds like a lot of work. Metric for capturing bias and discrimination in hiring, professional development and compensation. I have no idea what that metric would look like. Number of gender, race, sexual minorities hired versus the number of publicized positions. That could be easy to get. And metric for discrimination in hiring. Another vague kind of metric. The average retention period of women and minorities in relation to non-minorities. Metric for discrimination and unfair treatment. Maybe that's the number of actual cases that are filed, etc. In the first tier to second tier supplier relationship, when a diverse supplier is in a second tier position, the first tier supplier should be transferring pertinent information to raise or improve the diverse supplier's competitive position in all the following issues, except which one does not belong. Quality assurance initiatives. Now, you'd certainly want tier one to teach tier two that. Contacting opportunities that are available. This should be contracting opportunities that are available. Technology and information technology improvements. You'd want that. Cost transfer subsidiary for second tier supplier. You want them doing all of the following except this last one's worded kind of funny, so I'm going to go with that. Indeed it is. You just schedule it? Oh, it's not on the thing. All right, hang on a minute. Ah, this one's it's like the search bar. All right. Go back to where we were here. Second question, why are banks usually more reluctant to make loans for working capital to diverse businesses? Due to a fewer number of employees and lower salaries, kind of. Due to less advertising by diverse suppliers in areas where their plants are located, no. Due to higher risks associated with a lower net worth and fewer years in business, yes. Due to less established banking relationships. Well, there's a few of them in there. Yes, yes, yes. But probably this one is most correct. I'd go with C. Yep, C it is. All right. Summary. So diverse suppliers are by nature operationally different than established businesses. For this reason, a supplier development program that does not understand these differences will not be successful. And the organic sources of the unique characteristics that positively distinguish diverse suppliers and for which they are sought by larger businesses are indeed often exactly what makes diverse suppliers more nimble, flexible, adaptive, and innovative. And diverse suppliers tend to have fewer employees, hold smaller debt loads, and operate in environments which are less formal and less bureaucratic than those found at most well-established companies. Staff of diverse suppliers are often generalists, not specialists. As such, they may not be as expert at completing bids or as more well-established companies. Redlining, that is denying credit to economically challenged groups and neighborhoods, has been a common practice for many years in the US and has been repeatedly documented. It's a problem. Access to capital and cash flow is also often limited for diverse businesses as banks are less willing to loan to them, considering the high risk associated with lower net worth and collateral, as well as fewer years in business. An effective supplier development program must deeply understand and address the organic and operational limitations of the diverse small business which it wants to develop. And to address disadvantages, a minority supplier development program may offer training in all relevant company procedures and processes. For example, how RFPs are built and run, factors critical to bidding successfully, company culture, supplier platform, billing and PO practices. Diversity metrics and targets must continually be reviewed and updated as business diversity goals change according to what a diverse definition comes to include and exclude for each society and time in history, or each business or organization. Looking at the opportunities for joint partnerships as well as considering loan sponsorships or co-signing could be remarkably effective ways to render diverse suppliers more competitive and increase their capabilities. Some references. All right, let's go do some questions. G3. How many we got? We only got 5. All right, got some answers here. All right. Number 1 is alpha. Number 2 is also alpha. Number 3 is Charlie. And number 4 is delta. Well, number 5 is Bravo. All right, we will start in with the H series tomorrow.